September we met, I could tell by your smile. You hadn't been with a good girl like me in a while. Yeah, you were impressed, couldn't leave me alone. Text me every time that you pick up the phone. And I had control in the driver's seat, but my hands are slipping off the wheel. Now the tables have turned, now I'm up all night. I'm picturing you acting like a fool. I'm on the other side, you're like a full moon, and I'm up all night, howling at you.
Hi, I'm quite interested in reading in the groups a couple of comments in Lewes Present about the use of pumpkins for Halloween. And in fact, the pumpkin is a relatively new vegetable for Halloween. The original one was a turnip. When we celebrated All Souls Night in the medieval times, they gouged out a turnip and put a candle in it, and that was the traditional lamp that was used. It was only when the Americans started to celebrate Halloween that the pumpkin came to light, because first of all, pumpkins were plentiful there, and secondly, if you gouge out a pumpkin, there's rather more room than there is a turnip. But the Americans actually didn't start to celebrate, not the way that they do at the moment, Halloween until the early part of the 20th century. And it wasn't even the Americans that got it started, it was the Canadians. The first reference to Halloween, as we understand it today, was made in an Alberta newspaper, Alberta being one of the Canadian provinces, and they reported that a group of people had hijinks. They'd partied and danced around a fire and let off a few fireworks and so on and so forth for October the 31st. It was then that it spread to the United States and has become the giant celebration there that it is today. And of course it's catching on here, and the reason that so many people are talking about it is because we enjoy it, and it's part of the particularly children's celebration. They enjoy it so much. The trick-or-treating is also had an interesting medieval start, because there were two things that happened. First of all, people put on disguises, because traditionally, October the 31st was when the souls of the dead were able to return to earth, because at that time the skin between life and death was so very, very thin that demons were able to pop through and join us. And nobody quite knew what a demon looked like, but what you didn't want was for a demon to get hold of you. So you put on a disguise in the hope that you either looked like a demon or he didn't disguise you and try to interfere with you and do you harm. So that's how the disguises came. And secondly, the knocking door to door was traditionally done by the poor. And they would go from door to door seeking alms. But also, they still adopted the disguises because they weren't terribly keen on people knowing that they were poor. So they would appear on the doorstep, knocking on the door, asking for alms, dressed in some different way to they would normally, so that nobody would recognize them. So if they turned up at the neighbor's door, the neighbor didn't know that it was them that was asking for alms, and they were poor. The second thing that I just wanted to say at the moment is that it really upsets me that pubs keep being closed. And it's not so much that people aren't using pubs, more, it's that some of the big investment companies are buying pubs so that they can convert them into something else. And they offer such a good price that they get the premises and then they get converted. And I personally would make a law, if I was able to persuade Parliament, I'd make a law that said if you buy a pub, it's got to stay a pub. And that pubs shouldn't close at the great rate of knots at which they are. And once again, I reiterate, it's not because pubs aren't used, it's because people want the property to turn it into something else because they're in prime locations and they're prime properties and easily converted. Now, that is a prelude to the fact that it looks as if the King's Arms is going to open again on Friday, and God bless it, it's a wonderful pub. It's only a short walk across the park for me. Many a time I've been over there, and the fact that it's now it's being refurbished, it's going to open again, that you can go and get a beer there, and I understand that the idea is to have really good meals as well. So that's a very welcome return of the King's Arms, and I'm glad that whoever got it didn't turn it into a bunch of flats or a house or a shop or even try to build a skyscraper on it. So welcome back to King's Arms, and if it's ready for Halloween, I hope that people will go and trick and treat and get a pint as their treat or their trick if the landlord turns them away, which I'm sure he won't. Anyway, a good Halloween, and that's where it is. And use a pumpkin by all means, but remember, the original was a turnip. Toodle pip.
If ever I had a video, would you dance in it? Would you dance in